Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Carcassonne. So, we bid you welcome, care to learn how the game is played? Sure, I know how the game is played, but we'll try that. What's funny here is you don't really get a choice of adjusting any of the settings before you get into this, and I can't just click up here, which was where I would assume the settings would be. So if the audio is too loud, which I think it is, you're stuck with it normally. Fortunately, I do think, well, nope, there's a problem with that in there. Normally, I could just hold down the Alt button and move my mouse wheel because I have an app that would turn the audio down to a more reasonable amount. But oddly, the mouse wheel alone zooms, so alright, let's get the audio down to what I want it to be. I think that's much more reasonable. Then I'll just release the Alt and zoom back in. But that is a program called Volmouse, I believe, Volmouse, that I have set up. It's not built into Windows or anything. And I probably should warn people, I'm probably going to mispronounce Carcassonne. I think it's pronounced that way, but I probably will half the time call it Carcassonne, which also might be an acceptable way to pronounce it. It's too long of a name for a decent game. Welcome to Carcassonne. Your goal is to build roads, cities, monasteries, and own them in order to score points. There are several expansions of this game because this was a real-world card game originally, in which you get more tiles and potentially be able to make more connections to score for different things, such as rivers. Let's see, but I assume we're going to get just the basic tutorial here. I should also say this is an Asmodee digital game, and they tend to be the main player in converting real-world board games to PC, and generally they tend to do kind of a poor job at it. So I'm hoping this bucks that trend. But one thing that is very noticeable is that there is at least 5 pieces of DLC for different ways to play this that you would have probably wanted to just buy in one big bundle when you get this game, if you get this game. There is also certainly a difference between playing a game like this in the real world with people around you versus playing a game like this digitally against a computer or against people who are remotely connected. Touch the highlighted area to place your tiles. You can rotate the tile by tapping on it. Press the confirm button when you're done. Clearly this is a port from what you would assume is a cell phone / tablet game, because you have a very giant button here, way bigger than you would need compared to the mouse cursor, which oddly is not being recorded at the moment. I wonder why that is the case. Yeah, mouse cursor is not being captured. Well, that's weird. There is clearly some other things we have to have explained to us, but I wouldn't be surprised if we could click this and modify the resolution here, but it doesn't seem like that is the case. Just audio, just music and audio. Forfeit, resume. Very simplistic. Place your meeple, which are your little people, on the road to connect to the first tile. So effectively what this is claiming is that this is going to be your road. And so that's an odd angle. I'd like to be able to like right click and get more of an isometric tilted angle on this. Well down, you now own this road feature. Let's see what your opponents will do. So I don't know if this is a city. It's been a long time since I played, but it implies to me that this might be a city which might break up the road. If this was just a three-way branch, then you should theoretically own this road, and this road, and then there might be a fight to claim this connected road. Now it's your opponent's turn. Yeah, I really did need a recap here. So he placed it. You're lucky your opponent closed your road with a meeple on it, which I think gives me something that seemed to turn it from a dirt road into a stone road. By closing the road feature, your opponent is giving you your meeple back, because you have only 7 of them, I guess. You get 3 points for these 3 tiles. So this one, and this one. And I guess these are points, although they look like coins. Although I don't know what you would visually depict a point as. It would make more sense for it to be a coin. Play your tile on any of the highlighted positions. Okay. But I think there's a way to claim the grass also. So if this tile is half city, half grass, then something like this probably is your best bet. Just leaving it like that. And then now place the meeple in a city. Let's see if you can close it with an upcoming tile. So this brown background is a city. I was going for the grass, but I guess maybe that's not something you do in the main version of the game. So it's going to be potentially a fight if we put a tile here as far as a city. Now this is all grass, so put it here. Oh no, there's a little tower in the middle of that, a monastery. Again, maybe I want to zoom in a little bit more. Yeah. I do think the angle that they've chosen here is too top down for this game. Just like 5 degrees tilted more down towards the table would give you a much better perspective and much more height in these positions. Place a meeple on the monastery. You'll gain 1 point for each tile surrounding it, plus 1 point for the monastery itself. So we'd want the remaining 6 tiles there to be covered. There are 10 remaining tiles for you and your opponent to use them cleverly to close roads and cities, or cities, in order to score points. Yeah, again, I think then you're going to have to zoom out a little bit more. You're just going to have to kind of get it. Now, in all fairness, I have to say this almost every time I record. I'm looking at a TV 10 feet away, so maybe if I had a computer monitor right in front of my face, it'd be a little bit easier to zoom out and just play. Also, I guess if this interface was smaller, that would give you more space. You can now finish the game by yourself. I'm sure you can become the greatest liege of Carcassonne. Good luck, Your Highness. Alright. So, I want to put this here, like that, to close that off. And you theoretically don't have to put a meeple everywhere if you don't want to. This here is where you'd want to play. Do this, placing that, and then putting a meeple there, which immediately closes off the road. and gives you 3 points. See, and we could leave this guy potentially. The road completed. A completed road is worth 1 point per tile. Did we need that tutorial again? Let's see. Put that there and then rotate it that way. We have enough meeple that you should just play them. So it's a little weird that you can't do more with the meeples. Because it would just kind of seem like there would be, it would make some logic to, it would make some logic, I think, to potentially seems like you have to place a meeple. Interesting. It's not what I was really expecting. Alright, well, let's just place that there. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, like you would be able to just place a meeple anywhere, even if somebody's built something. Alright, that's exactly what we want. Remember, we have only like one remaining thing. And seemingly I can't change this, which means seemingly I can only place this. We might as well just place that. And that's just the end of the game, which for roads, incomplete roads are worth 1 point per tile. This is a pretty terrible tutorial because they didn't explain the scoring until you finished the game, so you couldn't have played towards any real strategy here, and that's kind of silly to have some completely new player just randomly put tiles, not understanding that there's an in-game scoring going on here. I also would say I think Carcassonne doesn't work particularly well with 2 players as much as it does with more players. I'd assume you could go up to at least 4, maybe even 6 or more, because there's just not a lot of tiles here. And these tiles in the real world could be fairly small. I don't think they are particularly small, but you could have a regular sized table hold a lot more tiles than what we're seeing here. Maybe this tutorial actually gave you a smaller amount than you normally start with. Anyways, incomplete roads are worth 1 point per tile at the end of the game. So that's 3, 2, 1 for him. That catches me up. Each tile surrounding an incomplete monastery is worth 1 point each at the end of the game, plus 1 for the monastery itself. So, like, we wanted to get 1 more piece here to complete the monastery. That gives me 8 points. Incomplete cities are worth 1 point per tile at the end of the game. Coats of arms are also worth 1 point each. So these blue coats of arms are not specifically unique to blue, which that feels like a artistic mistake, certainly. So we get 2 there, 1 there, and 2 there. And he gets 6 for all of that, and 1 for that. Which means I won the game, but I only won the game because I kind of understand the rules before I even started playing. There you go. You now know the basics of this wonderful game of Carcassonne. All the rules are available in the rules section. Compared to other Asmodee digital games, the art here does look a little bit better done, although the art is fairly unique between games. We can review the board. We can also have a top-down perspective. Seeming like you could chat, and you can do online matches, and we can see the remaining tiles list. I guess that's something you can do. I didn't realize that you actually knew what tiles were coming. I thought it was kind of random and secret. Alright. So this is where you start to see a little too much on the screen. Okay. Let's see. Auto zoom is on. High, low, normal, high. Animation speed. We'll try a different meeple outline, even though visually this looks exactly the same. So I guess this is a thin outline versus a thick outline. Several different languages. Not really a lot. As far as rules, you have the base game with the rules and tutorial. You have the abbot that just has rules. The river that just has rules. Inn and cathedrals, which has a tutorial. Traders and builders. The princess and the dragon. And the winter edition, which also has only rules. So that means we can go through 3 more tutorials to just see the different setup. You can sign in as Asmodee Digital, which gives you the free Abbot expansion. Which I probably do have an Asmodee Digital account. I just don't remember what it is. I'll have to see. I'd have to check into that. And then you immediately have a shop, and these were all the DLCs on Steam. And don't let this art fool you. It's not going to look that interesting when you actually play the game. Let's see. Here's the tutorial link. Okay. And then you have more advertisements for more Asmodee Digital games, which I've covered Love Letter, I've covered Ticket to Ride, I think I've covered Catan. These are all more what they would lean on calling German board games compared to something like a Hasbro board game, which is like Monopoly. But yeah. I think, for me personally, there is also this problem where these games, it's really just advertising the same thing in different categories. These kinds of board games have to have friends that like to play board games and come over to your house on a fairly frequent basis. Otherwise, you're not going to find a lot of value in them. Like, they're not going to blow you out of the water and be much better than something like Monopoly. I will say most of these games are slightly better than Monopoly because Monopoly is often far too long and far too cutthroat and far too boring of a game. But particularly compared to video games, there's just no difference there. Yeah, some of these are different offerings. But then these are literally them advertising that you buy the actual physical board game. And then at least has an exit button, which recently the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel game came out, and it effectively is targeting cell phone first, so it looks like a cell phone app. that happens to run on PC also, but it has absolutely no exit button. Now, I have to completely disagree with using terminology and visuals that look like it might actually turn off your computer. Even on a cell phone, there really shouldn't be a button that looks like it might turn off your cell phone screen or power it down completely, because while almost certainly no game actually does do that, that is a little scary. Alright. So, we have an AI focused, AI builder, AI aggressive, AI conqueror. So, how many players can we have? You can have 6 players in a local game, and you could certainly have a pass and play of 6 real people playing on the PC or computer. I just have a hard time imagining that, though. Like, you would have to either have your computer connected to a TV in a family room, which makes sense, and then passing a mouse and keyboard. I don't believe there's any controls for this. So you just have to pass a mouse and mouse pad. And it's kind of hard to find a mouse pad that's hard, that you can pass to people, versus a floppy soft mouse pad. I actually have one, but it's pretty rare and hard. It would be hard for me to replace. So there's really not a great setup there. We've seen some games enable people to play on their cell phone as a controller. We are not seeing that function here. That would work, certainly. But yeah, that would be a potential thought or suggestion. So the only other thing I could imagine is that you might have a monitor spinning around a table. But even that would be kind of crazy to have like a laptop or a computer monitor sitting on something like a Lazy Susan that spins around in circles. Like, just imagine, even if it's 6 kids sitting around the table, there's going to have to be a round table or a very long rectangular table. And squeezing around the monitor is not going to make a better experience. So let's have one classic game, and then I think I'm gonna make a mini series of this, and we'll have one of each of the expansions. I'll make an account to get the Abbott thing. Everything just flips here as far as what you would want to enable and what you wouldn't want to enable. That is one thing that is kind of nice about the real world version of the Carcassonne series, is that the expansions just are more tiles and more rules, so you just add them with the classic game, and that makes for more variety. Might make for a longer game also, though, because if you started with everything here enabled, then you might want to start with more cards to actually play, and that is gonna take more time. Although it does kind of feel like this game is designed to be played in rounds very quickly, and maybe that is the better way to play card games, is to do multiple rounds. But with every round you have the opportunity of people saying, I'm out, I don't want to play anymore. Whereas if you play something a little bit longer, you commit people to it. There is a wide spectrum certainly there, where you can have people commit to something extremely long like Dungeons and Dragons, which could be 4 or 5 hour sessions a week for months and months, or something very short like a single round of poker. But yeah, depending on how good the game is, even though a single hand or round of poker isn't that long, people play poker for hours and hours if they want to. So I generally think you'd want to be generous and give people more opportunities to quit at the end of rounds instead of rage quits in the middle of rounds. So you can play here with a modified rule so that you won't see the remaining tiles. And then you have a special digital thing here that is going to tell you if there's a dead tile that just cannot be played at all. And those would be fairly obvious even in the real world version of the game, because it would be something surrounded by 4 other tiles that can't connect. And then you can play with field. Fields and farmers are a great way to enhance your Carcassonne experience. Placing a field tile, player must draw a tile and place it as he normally would. Fields are green spaces on the tile. Placing a meeple as a farmer. When a farmer is deployed, it is placed in a laying position to avoid confusing them with other meeples. Once deployed, a farmer won't return until the end of the game and the final scoring phase. Make them count. During the final scoring phase, each city is complete and adjacent to an occupied field gives 3 points. Fields work just like cities and roads. They can have multiple meeples on them. The players with the most farmers on the field scores the points. If multiple players have an equal amount of farmers on the field, they each score the total number of points on the field. The blue player scores 12 points here because his field here, which here's a laying down meeple and here's a laying down meeple, a blue meeple. So this whole highlighted section here is the blue player's field. It connects to 4 completed cities. 1, 2, 3, and I don't see what a 4th completed city is. Is this supposed to be a completed city here? Or is this supposed to be a completed city? A, B, D, and E is what they're saying are completed cities. And there are more blue farmers than yellow farmers. I don't even see a yellow farmer. Oh, here it is. There's 1 yellow farmer versus 2. The red player gets no points because city C is not completed. So this whole giant field is not worth anything. So you would want to be really careful with fields and farmers as a rule. And apparently that is just not an original rule. Alright. What is this? I guess this is the expansion. So, these players, with just regular Carcassonne, with fields, with dead spots, and with being able to see the tiles. That's a lot of setup for a game. And on the first play, they get a city finished. But it probably wouldn't be a particularly good city to focus on because there's roads on either side of it. Alright. So what I would want to do is probably play here, rotating this downward this way. And then now you have the choice. You want to go with a farm here or city here. I'll start with a city here. But yeah, it does feel weird that you can't go back and say, yeah, I would like to add another meeple on this tile in the next turn. Yeah, definitely is a different experience when you... That would only spin that way. Yeah, it is a different experience when you have a bunch of people on the field. Right, so I can put a farmer here. And that gets me at least one completed city. So I've locked in some points for later. And he's doing a farm there. So we'd ideally not want to connect to that. We'd want to connect over to this. Let's see. So I'm going to place that. And then we can compete for a road. Or we can compete for a city. But it seems like you have to do something. Nope, you don't, actually. Although it's pretty stupid not to. And that one just shoved a monastery in the middle. Is there possibly a better place? Because this road is getting really long for that guy. Like, I could just start a new road around. I think we put it here and try and secure some safety. Put that down. It definitely becomes a more interesting experience. See, there's a dead tile when you have 6 players. I don't know if it's a particularly grand experience though when it's 6 players all that are all PC players. This has an end point on it. So I could put a road here instead of a city. Because I just don't know if I was to do this. Yeah, you can't get into the city because there's already people there. So I would probably want to do something like this and then place that. And you'd have to basically play that same card here. I wanted him to play that there. Okay. What can we do? We could try and close off this end. We could try and close off this end. We could try and close off several other ends. I think your best bet is probably to do something like that. But I don't think that's a good move for me. It's probably better to do something like that. Yep. this is very much a placement and strategy game. There's not anything else really you do here. It's, you take your random chances on the card you have because you can't pick cards. There is probably a variation on this that would make a little bit more sense if you could pick the actual card if you just had a certain number of tiles and you were choosing to play them. That would be something, I think, closer to something like poker. But as it stands, that's not how it's going to go down. Yeah, my best bet is to play that there. And I guess again I'll put another farmer since there's a completed piece there. Yeah, we are at 25 of 72 tiles playing with 6 players. That is a much longer game than the tutorial. And zooming in and zooming out is going to be a bit of a hassle now. What do we want to do? See. Is there some big savior? If we played this like this, that'd make a dead tile. Played like this, that'd make it longer. If we played this like this, if we played that, it would close it off. I guess I want to do that. Although this is a dead tile, and so this city is never going to actually be closed off. I got the card I wanted there. Hope that turns out to be valuable. Let's see. What can we do as far as a road or as far as grass? Just stick it there. I think that's your best move. See, yeah, this dead tile, because this was, it needed 4 caps on each end. It just doesn't have that. I think that gets me points doing that. Which I think that just swung me into the victory spot. I think a more traditional easy, medium, and hard level of characters to play against would make more sense. Or a difficulty level on top of different AI personalities might make some more sense, because like, I really am not that good of a Carcassonne player that I should be able to, against 6 players, almost guarantee victory. Okay, is there anything we could cap off that would be interesting? That would make a dead tile. That would make a very difficult tile. We're down to 4 tiles. Because there's 6 players, you go through 6 tiles before it's even your turn again. And this is about as big as a board, I think, as you would really want to make. Because after that point, you'd have to make the tiles so small. So we have a 23, a 24 here, and a 14 to start with. For the roads, I got to 15. And the scoring seems kind of random in the way it goes. I'd almost wonder if it's scoring based on when the little meeples were placed. And it's kind of pointless to mark tiles as dead tiles at the end of the game when there are no more tiles left. Because obviously everything is a dead tile at that point. So we're not going to win it on roads alone. In fact, we may not win it at all, as we're now seeing the red player up to 45. See what the cities can do for us. That bumped us up to 32. And I guess your scoring could get pretty high here, but I would be surprised if you get too much higher than 100. 53, I'm in the lead. So if I can maintain this lead on fields, I've won. Nope. Maybe? 71. Somebody had the black player had a stronger field. So, yeah. You did very poorly as far as roads and did better than me as far as monasteries. But then he beat everybody with cities and then locked in the victory with doing a decent amount on fields. In fact, he had the same as I did on fields. So while I was focused on fields, he managed to get 14 more points on cities. Of course, like looking at the board and trying to see all of this would be kind of a nightmare, and you can't even really check the scoring now because all the meeple are missing. So you would have to actually look at the flags. Like this yellow flag means the yellow player got this city, but this road has no flag on it, so there's no telling who earned the points on that road. So the scoring is kind of not very useful, and the camera angle I think is still not very useful. And looking straight down, I mean, I can see why some people might think they want this. I'll also say some of these tiles, like the flowers here, not meaning anything, being extra art. The farms here being extra art, not meaning anything, is kind of problematic. The rocks and shrubs not meaning anything is kind of a problem. It's almost as if they designed the art for these tiles, even in the original cardboard version of the game, and thought there might be other rules they might add later. They thought of the rules after the fact. Here's an unconstructed city. I don't know if there's really a huge amount of value in having waving colored flags and the extra animation, if it's just going to be visual noise that gets in the way of actually playing the game. And I guess if you want to play online, you also have to sign in, which seems stupid, frankly. I take it as a kind of personal insult anytime I see a game, particularly on Steam, try and get your email address just so they can advertise to you, or so that they could then get hacked later and leak your email address. And I'm glad that for the vast majority of games on Steam, companies don't ask for email addresses or anything like that, or make you sign in to secondary third-party accounts for no good reason. It's not like signing into Asmodee Digital creates this integrated service where you can see all the Asmodee Digital board games in one library, and then you can like voice chat or text chat or both to your friends, or even have like Zoom meeting type video face-to-face chat. That would be the next step forward for these types of games, is to take all of these games, take your code, integrate Discord or Zoom or something that you don't have to really control for face chat interaction, integrate a video camera option, and have people spend 3, 4, 5 hours not just playing Carcassonne, but playing all the games. And then the next step you'd ideally want to have is to be able to have a client app that allows for just one host to own those games, instead of a scenario that we have now where if you would want to play Carcassonne, you would have to have every single person pay for that game and that version of the DLC, I'm sure, to play it, which that is more expensive than just what it normally would cost in the real world, where one person owns the board game and brings it over to the meeting place. Alright, well, this has been a good run, and there really isn't a lot to say about Carcassonne otherwise. Just going through the tutorial and playing one game shows what the base game is. There's nothing else special there. It's just going to be the different rules and the different DLC. And so we'll cover that in the next episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.